Hi guys, welcome back to another day of Vlogmas. Welcome to my channel if you guys are new. Today we're going to be talking about some palettes that I think are perfect for the winter time, and I'm also going to go ahead and share a few of my favorite single shades for the winter time for that perfect kind of one and done glittery sort of an eye look. So let's go ahead and get started. So you guys might know that my makeup collection isn't the largest, most extensive makeup collection of anyone here on YouTube. But that being said, I do feel like a lot of my single shadows do lend themselves very nicely for a nice wintry sort of a look. So I have 4 to share with you guys today. I thought we would start out with the singles and then we'll talk about the palettes. So the first one that I feel like really lends itself to winter, but more specifically the holiday time of year, is this Ulta Beauty Lustrous Foil Eyeshadow. I have mine in the shade Rose Gold Leaf. This is such an underrated product. It is a bit messy. So it also comes with this little cover on it once you screw the cap off. Make sure to keep this because it will help preserve the product for longer and help it last longer so that you can enjoy it for more time. But it is so pretty and so foiled. I hope that you guys can really see just how glittery, and honestly it's a flaky type shadow, but it's so pretty on the lids, especially over a glitter glue. I would recommend this 100% over a glitter glue. I love the one from NYX. Look how just stunning this is, and can you imagine that all over the lids? It is so pretty, and I really like this one when I want something that's really easy to apply, because honestly, like, look at that payoff just from one shadow. It's so dimensional too. If you put this all over the lid where the light catches it, it's going to look a lot lighter, and then it might look more like a halo eye if you're looking straight on, or it's going to start to get lighter depending on how you shift your head and how you're looking. So this is going to be such a really gorgeous one, especially for like a dinner where the lighting might be a little bit lower, something like that. All of these single shadows I feel like are really going to shine in that kind of dim sort of lighting, and especially during the winter the days feel like they end a lot earlier, so obviously it gets darker earlier, and some shadows like this can be perfect for an evening sort of a look. I really love this one. One that's kind of similar to the Ulta Beauty one is this Flower Beauty Chrome Crush Pressed Pigment, and I have mine in the shade Rose Quartz, or it's actually just called Quartz. But this one again has a little stopper in the packaging to help you preserve the product for longer. This one is not quite as flaky or foily or anything like that as the Ulta Beauty one, but it still has a very pretty texture to it. So this is what it looks like in the actual container. So it's a lot less flaky. The actual chunks of glitter are a bit more fine. I do have a little bit of a longer nail style on right now, so it's a bit harder for me to pick this one up, but I hope you guys can still see how glittery and foiled and metallic it really is. It just doesn't have as large of glitter flecks in it. So this one is another really pretty option if you want something that's slightly less glittery than the Ulta Beauty one, but is still going to pack a punch. Of course, all of these single shadows, like I mentioned, I think are going to be perfect for that kind of low light sort of occasion. I'm going to build the swatch up a little bit so you guys can really see it, but it's honestly really, really pretty on the lids. And again, I love this over a glitter glue. I also really like the packaging on this one. The bottom of it, you can actually see a little pattern in the eyeshadow itself, and then I like how it just has the clear packaging with the subtle white lid. It's just very sleek looking to me, and I really like that. I have a Super Shock shadow from ColourPop, but I think that this one in particular is really nice for winter because it's a more cool toned one. So I have the shade I Heart This, or I Love This, but it has, of course, little hearts. It's like I heart this. But I really like this one because it is more cool toned, and I always tend to gravitate towards cool toned shadows in the winter time, but this one just has the prettiest flip to it, and it's just honestly stunning on the eyes. So I really recommend this one for the winter time, and it's also a little bit more subtle even than the Flower Beauty one. It's just kind of the way that it happened, but I'm kind of sharing these from least subtle to most subtle, so this one is kind of a more subtle option, but it definitely can be built up, and it still has that base pigment to it. Whereas our next one doesn't really have a lot of base pigment. It's just mostly like that extra glitter on top. So this next one is actually also from Ulta Beauty. This is their Bouncy eyeshadow. This one's in the shade called Buttercream, and it's a very nice light champagne type color, but it doesn't really have a lot of a base to it. So while you're seeing that champagne, I would call it a base here, when you actually put it on the lid, you're really gonna just mostly see the glitter pieces. They're really tiny little sparkles, but they're so pretty on the lid. This is something that you can either tap over other shadows or kind of just apply this to your lid for almost that wet look, but it's just gonna add just the nicest little bit of shimmer to any look. If you feel like your look is missing something, like this is what it's missing, you know, and it's just gonna add that extra little sparkle to your look, which I feel like is just so pretty for the winter time. Look at that. It's like adding a little bit of snow to any look, I feel like, but it's very, very pretty on the lids. It might look a little bit understated on the hand because, like I said, it doesn't have that base color to it. It's really just that really pretty, finely milled, almost like a dusting of a glitter, and it's just really, really pretty. So those are 4 eyeshadows that I really, really love for this time of year. These are, of course, in like single packaging. They're not really the single shadow where you put in like a Z palette, but I really prefer this type of a single shadow because I find them to feel more special when you're reaching for them, because otherwise I feel like I'm just kind of throwing it into an empty palette and then I kind of forget about it. So these are my favorite way to use a single shadow. I really like this sort of a format where it's just individually packaged, but these are 4 that I really like, especially for this time of year. But let's go ahead and talk about 6 palettes that I think are perfect for winter. Okay, the first 2 are really good cool tone options. I have been mentioning this one a lot. I feel like as I've been filming, I'm pre-filming, so might have been a few videos ago for you guys, but recently I've been mentioning this a lot while filming. But this is from the brand Flower Nose. This is called the Stellar Sand palette, and I really love this palette. It's so pretty for this time of year, but any time of year, honestly. This is just such a stunning palette. If you've never seen it before, this is what it looks like. I love this. The matte shades in this palette are honestly a lot more cool tone, in my opinion, on the skin than they even look in the pan. I do think they look like they're cool tones in the pan, but on the eyelids themselves, they're gonna look very, very cool, which I really like for this time of year. And then these 2 shimmer shades are stunning. Now, this is more of that shimmer shade similar to that most recent single I just showed you guys, where it doesn't have a ton of base pigment, but look how beautiful that flip is on both of those. These are gonna look really pretty over the lids, especially paired with these more cool tone shadows. I really like this palette. It's such a fun, kind of different palette for me in my collection. I love the packaging on this one, and I just really like this. I've got another cool tone option for you guys. Can you see the theme here that I really just reach for cool tones in the cooler months of the year? So this next one is from ColourPop. This is called the That's Taupe palette. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with this one. Again, I have a smaller collection, so I probably mentioned a couple of these in my last winter palettes video, but I'm just still enjoying them, so I want to mention them again this winter. But this is what the inside of this palette looks like if you haven't ever seen it before. This is one that I feel like a lot of us forget about in our collections. So if you have this in your collection, it's like in the back of your collection or in the back of your drawer, dig it out and try it out and see what you think about it, because I honestly think that this is perfect for the winter time. I love to use the top 3 matte shades all over the crease and the lid and that kind of thing for setting the base of the look. And then I love to dip into these 2 shimmers here especially. I usually will take Snake Eyes and put it on like the middle of the lid, maybe pull it out towards the outer portion, but then put the shade called Slated here like all over the lid and overlap the 2. These are also just really stunning shimmer shades. They definitely have more of a pigment, they have more of a punch than some of those other ones that I was sharing, and I really like that. It kind of can go a little bit grungy in this palette because, at least on my skin tone, these 3 shades on the bottom can pull pretty deep, and I feel like they all really can build up nicely. So I like the versatility of this palette because you can create a really fun, almost like grungy sort of a look with this, but you can also take it to be like a more glam sort of a palette, or kind of mix the 2 and have like a grungy glam sort of a look. So that's what I'm into, especially around the winter time. So of course that one had to be in this video. Okay, I feel like I'm just a broken record here. Sparkles, I mean, winter time. So this is the Il Makiage and Kathleen Lights Disco Fox palette. So I really love this one, especially because of these 3 shades right here. This formula in particular, which the purple and the pink shades are the same formula, but for me, what really draws my eye to this for the winter time are these 3 shades right here, and also this one actually. So I feel like this can be a really pretty shade for the winter time as well, but especially using these 2 columns of matte shades, kind of steering away from the orange one. But bringing in that purple too could just be really fun for the winter and especially the holidays too. You can pull in that purple shade. I don't know why, but adding purple to a look makes it feel more festive to me. And I just really feel like, again, this one is great for this time of year. These shimmer shades these are a little bit more of like a flaky, almost like a dry sort of a shimmer shade. And I do like them. I will say this is not my absolute favorite palette in my collection, but I do really enjoy this. And I go through phases where I reach for this one a lot and a lot consecutively. But this one, I do feel like within my collection, it does lend itself very well towards this time of year. So this next one is the Sydney Grace Unbreakable Bond palette. This one I feel like really reminds me of winter, especially because in the winter time, I love blues mixed with either silvers or golds, and you can create that type of a look with this palette. So it does have 3 more like blue tone shades, 2 of them on the bottom, which are definitely blue, and then this one called Tiara, which is like a silver gunmetal color, but it definitely has blue in it. Like it pulls more blue just because of the cool tones in it, but I really feel like they pair really nicely together. Like these 2 shades here are gonna look really stunning together on the lid, but then also you can pull in one of these like Haley's Haze, maybe Auntie's, but I would say mostly Haley's Haze. I just love those tones together, and especially like if you took out the silver one and just went with the blue and the gold, or if you kind of mix them, maybe put the gold on the lower lash line, but then kept the 2 blue shades on the lid. I just feel like they go really well together, and this honestly just reminds me of the holidays, it's New Year's maybe, and then this type of cranberry shade in general, maybe a little bit more Thanksgiving, but to me that sort of purple shade like I mentioned in the Kathleen Lights one just honestly does remind me of the holidays. And if you wanted to mix together that one with this more orangey tone gold, those could be really pretty together as well for this time of year. So I do feel like this does lend itself very well to the winter, and it also has a couple of these more kind of cool tone browns as well to kind of ground out the palette. So I really love this one, and I'm excited to reach for it this year because this is the first time I've had this palette in the winter time. Okay, I've got 2 more palettes to mention. This next one I feel like is such a no-brainer, like it's a blue palette. So for me, I feel like I think of whites and blues when I'm thinking of the winter time. So take out this middle column, which I always say, like if you could take that out, this is such a winter palette, but of course it has it in there. It's fine. But this is the Iceland palette from Nomad. I love these 2 blue columns, especially for the winter time. And even this final column over here can lend itself pretty well if you kind of like mix them in with the blues. But for the most part, these 2 blue columns of the shades, I love these shades for the winter time. I always feel like I dip into this palette to create like a very blue look. I'll actually pop a picture up of one of my favorite looks I think that I've ever created was with this palette. And I might have actually filmed when I created this look. It might have been like a palette bingo with it, or like when I first tried it out. I feel like I filmed that look. So if I did, I will leave it linked below for you guys and in the eye above if you want to check it out. But I really love how that look turned out, and I used like all of these shades. So that was really fun for me to just play around with it. I love like layering different shimmer shades separated on the lid versus like a perfect blend. I feel like it looks really intricate if you blend them a little bit, but like you can still tell that there's different shades, kind of like the look that I just put up on the screen. But that's just one of my favorite things to do, to be able to use a bunch of different shades of blue, especially for this look. And then you could also even pull in like another one and put it on the lower lash line. So I just remember creating that look, even though it was several years ago, but it's still just one of my favorites. And I always think of that look when I think about this palette. So I probably need to recreate that this winter, honestly. Okay, the last palette that I want to share that I think is honestly just so perfect for this time of year is the Huda Rose Quartz palette. I think that this palette is perfect for this time of year. It has everything that I just mentioned in all of those other palettes, and it's all in one. So it has cool tones, and it has tones that have blues in them. It has some of these more lighter kind of icy shades, but it also has these gold kind of tones to it. It has a more cool tone option, but it also has a more like traditional gold option that you could mix in with some of those more blue tones as well. It also has shades that have purple in the undertone of them. And then I also love this shade here called Abundance. It's a deeper sort of a shade. It's got a little bit of purple in it. It's so beautiful. I don't really know how to describe this shade, but I honestly think that this shade in itself is so perfect for the winter time. Like, look how beautiful that color is. And some of the shades in this palette are some of my favorites. Like even this one called Energized is such a favorite shade of mine in my entire collection. I really, really love that one. So this palette honestly just lends itself so well to this time of year. I have been really enjoying this, and I'm so glad that I have it back in my collection. But those were 4 single shadows and 6 palettes that I think are perfect for this time of year. Let me know down below if you guys have any other favorites that you love, or if you guys also love some of these palettes for this time of year. I would love to hear that in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy it, I would love it if you would give it a thumbs up. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel and turn on your post notifications, because I am posting a video every single day this month. So I hope that you guys have been enjoying vlogmas so far. Also, let me know down below what you guys are thinking about that. But I do appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.